Guys, it's Sunday morning. It's the morning after Crolla versus Linares. I'm a bit pushed for time, so this is just going to be a short video. I will be doing a more extended video later on today addressing the Tyson Fury situation, because I've got one or two thoughts and comments that I want to express on that, so stay tuned for that coming out later today. But this video is just to talk briefly about the Crolla Linares rematch. It seems basically that Eddie Hearn has come out in several interviews and confirmed that they will look to make that rematch and take the rematch as soon as possible. February, March next year, I think, is what Eddie Hearn was saying on his interview with IFL TV. Personally, and again, this is naive from me potentially, personally, I'm very surprised to hear this. Very, very, very surprised to hear that there's going to be this immediate rematch, because having looked at the fight last night, and I know I scored it wider than a lot of people. If you haven't seen my post-fight video, I actually had Linares winning very, very comfortably indeed. But personally, if I look at that fight last night, I wasn't left with the abiding impression that Crolla could easily reverse his fortunes. To be honest, I thought what we saw last night was vintage Anthony Crolla. I actually thought it was quite a good Anthony Crolla performance. He came into the ring and he did what he does well. He brought high pressure, high work rate. He made his opponent move a lot, made his opponent throw a lot of punches, and it was a very similar Anthony Crolla to the Crolla we saw having success against Ismael Barroso. My concern for Crolla is he's just someone who has a ceiling on his skill set. He has not got a elite world-leading skill set. He has not got elite world-leading pedigree, boxing pedigree. He's not got elite world-leading power. What we saw last night, as far as I'm concerned, was the very, very best of Anthony Crolla. And really, we saw Crolla perform in exactly the kind of way that most of us would have expected him to perform. We just saw in Jorge Linares a guy with vastly more to offer. Far greater versatility, far greater hand speed, far greater movement, far greater punch selection and boxing brain, as far as I'm concerned. So that's my, for me, would be less interested in the rematch than I would be in the first fight, because I find it hard really to picture Anthony Crolla reversing the form. I don't necessarily see Crolla adding totally new attributes to his game between now and February in a way that makes me think he could reverse the form with Jorge Linares. I mean, fundamentally, this just wasn't a close fight as I see it. It wasn't a close fight in terms of how I scored the rounds. It also wasn't a close fight in terms of the skill sets on display. For me, there were levels. So I'm personally a little bit surprised that Eddie Hearn and Anthony Crolla would look to go straight back into that immediate rematch. Obviously, they're both far more knowledgeable about the subject than myself, but I'd have to question the management there. Because at this stage, Crolla's 29, he's in his peak years. A second convincing loss against Linares, it would be detrimental to his career and would sort of highlight that he is really a level below the Linareses of this world. I think the division is so live domestically. You've got Terry Flanagan, obviously, fellow Manchester-based lightweight. You've got Luke Campbell. I personally would like to see Crolla fight those guys, or at least take some other fights in the interim. But an immediate rematch, Jorge Linares, there's a lot of people saying he's older, he's had a few wars in his career, maybe Crolla was catching him at the right time last night. Maybe if Crolla waited a year or two, Linares would have a few more miles on the clock, and maybe then you could make a case that Crolla could somehow reverse the form. But an immediate rematch, I don't see it. I don't see Linares suddenly getting old overnight. He's only 31. I don't see him being old overnight in 3 or 4 months' time without any fights in the interim. So, yeah, for me, it's a bizarre decision. I would be very confident in picking Linares to win again. As I said, I thought the actual fight was a lot wider than the scorecard make out. And I don't really think Crolla could have done anything differently. I thought that was the best Anthony Crolla. Fundamentally, he just came up against a better opponent, an opponent who was a lot better than him. And it's brutal to say that, but that's the truth. So if I was his management team, I'd be looking at a rematch in a few fights' time, add a bit more wear and tear to Linares. or I'd not really be interested in a rematch. So I'd kind of say, look, we know what we've got in Anthony Crolla, big ticket seller, good fighter, but not an elite fighter. Let's test him against some of the other lightweights. There's big fights. I mean, that Terry Flanagan fight is a big, big fight. It's bizarre for me to go straight back into a Jorge Linares fight. And, you know, let me know your thoughts on this, people. Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. How many of us would actually be picking Anthony Crolla to beat Jorge Linares in a rematch? That's the question I've got for you. Because I don't see it. I don't see it. So would you be picking Anthony Crolla in a rematch against Linares? Would you, like myself, have more interest in seeing him fight someone new? Terry Flanagan, as opposed to Jorge Linares. And what's best for Crolla's career? Leave your comments in the section below. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, do press subscribe. Many thanks for watching.